You already know the drill. When I'm in this angle, it means that my camera needs charge. And yes, I should invest in another battery so I don't have to move around and sit very awkwardly while filming these videos. Sooner or later, I'll reprimand myself enough time that I'll get around to it. But yeah, welcome guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a shelf TBR. We skipped October because I did a secret TBR. You have already seen it or not, I don't know. But today I wanted to pick my books for November, so we're gonna go back to pick a shelf and read each book on that shelf. If you're new to this channel, if you don't know the rules of this TBR, I'm gonna link down below in the initial video where I explain the rules and blah blah blah. The only rules which has changed since then is that I'm not doing my fantasy TBR anymore because sooner or later I get around to those books anyway because they are all on my shelves, and I was just putting more pressure than I could handle at the moment. This is also the month where I get in actual trouble because I've got so many leftovers from the other months. I've got my book club book that I need to read. I will have my new Fairy Lutes to read. So yeah, I'm back to the usual. Let me see for how much my camera has actually charged. It's an experiment. So the first thing I want to read in November for sure, I have to because I got the book club at the end of the month, is The Herd. This is a fairly recent, I believe, probably potentially last year or this year, and it's actually a literature fiction. It's the story of these two best friends. They are very different as persons, but they always were able to connect. However, they have very different point of view, very different opinions when it comes down to vaccinate their children. And I believe the whole thing is gonna be about something big happens, and because of the beliefs that they hold, they will, you know, their friendship is going to be put to test. I've heard this is an amazing book for a book club, so I'm eager to discuss these, read these. The Fairy Lutes have not arrived, so I might just, you know, you're going to find the unboxings on my channel at some point. Will I manage to read them? I doubt, but I don't know. A girl can just hope. Let me put random number generator. So we got the usual program. So I got 1 and 21 shelves. And then we're gonna click on generate, and you guys are gonna see before me. What number is it? I can't see it. Is it number 2? Let me see if I've already read. I haven't. No, I haven't. So number 2 is gonna be this shelf, which is my read books. Okay, interesting. I'm gonna show you the shelf and the books on the shelf. So this is the shelf. Say hello to Pickle Rick here in the corner. Hi Pickle Rick. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is my shelf. This is what it looks like. I'm actually excited about a couple of titles on these. So 2. Let's start at here. Then I'm also gonna fold down. 2 Dark Reigns. So this, I don't know if it's a sequel or it's a third book. If it's the third book, I don't have to read it. If it's the sequel, I will have to read it. I actually am looking forward to continue with the series, so I hope so. Homegoing. I've not read Homegoing yet, guys. I definitely need to read it. Can we appreciate though this cover? Half Lost. So this is the third book in this series, and I've not read the second, so I don't have to read it. Return of the Key, I've read. Really liked it. This is I'll Meet You There. This is a romance book that I owned for ages and never read, so this will have to be read. Godblind. Not read this one, so I will have to read it. Oh, Pachinko, so I can finally watch them, the series. I've not read these, so I need to. The Witch's Kiss. I've not read these, so I need to read these. If It Bleeds, I'm not sure at what point on the series this is. This is sequel from the Mr. Mercedes. I think it's Mercedes. I don't know, I'll check. Just put them here for now. Another one I've not read and owned. This is when I was still reading a lot of YA, and still kept some of them that I want to get around to eventually. This is one of them. I've not read these. And I also not read Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close. Alphabet I have read, so this doesn't go. I've not read Crossbones Yard, so we have to be read. I have read The Wolf in the Whale. I have read Three Dark Crowns. I have read Storm Sister, The Sinking World. Female pirates really recommended these. That was an arc I won. The Bone Shard Daughter, heard amazing things about these. I've not read this. I want to. Blood and Honey I've read. This was a mistake in that series, but I'm not sure. This is an Italian one, but I need to check if I'm at this point in the series. I might not be, but this is technically should go downstairs. Cthulhu and Lord of Death, I've read these. And finally, a book that's actually on my fantasy TBR is Anno Dracula. I've not read these and I need to read these. I'm in a lot of trouble, guys. A lot of unread books on this shelf. Okay, I am back in the corner, but let me give you a bit of an update. I just checked. So If It Bleeds is my number 2 in a sub-series by Stephen King. So the first one is The Outsider, so I don't have to read these. This one would correspond to book number 4, and which in English would be Destined for an Early Grave, but I've not read book number 3, so I don't have to read this one, and this one actually will have to go downstairs. And unfortunately, this is the last book in a trilogy, and so I don't have to read this one because I've not read the second one yet. So yeah, those are the updates. To be fair, it's better for me because I've got so many books to read. So first one I will have to read actually is The Diabolic. This is a YA book, fantasy. And this is basically the story of these Diabolics. So the Diabolics are machines, like they look like humans, but they're not humans. They are created as personal bodyguards of important people in this world. And all of a sudden, I think it's also sci-fi, but in this world, our main protagonist, Nemesis, I think she's called, she's the bodyguard, she's the Diabolica of the daughter of a very famous senator in this world. And all of a sudden, this daughter, she's requested to go and live with an enemy as hostage. So they decide to send Nemesis instead of a real daughter, so she has to go there, and I think there is political intrigue and her also finding out that she's not just a machine, but her pretending to be human will cause her to, I guess, starts to feel human. We will see. Then I have got Anno Dracula. This is part also my fantasy TBR. I'll link down below that video. It's basically a TBR where I want to read a book in each subgenre of fantasy. This I think is for vampire fantasy, and this is also alternative history where Queen Victoria in 1888 marries actually Lord Dracula, and a lot of vampires now are blending with society. I guess society is not very happy about that, but it's also there is a killer on the loose killing vampires, female vampires, and I think it's inspired by Jack the Ripper, and so these two have to solve a crime, if it makes sense, and try to solve the mystery of this guy. So it's an alternative history. But I'm very curious and I've heard great things about these, so we'll see. So then I've got Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. This is a literature fiction book about this boy who loses his father in the 9/11, and a couple of years later, while still dealing with grief, he finds a key and he thinks that this key belongs to his father, and he decides to go on this journey throughout New York of, you know, meeting with family, friends, trying to basically find the lock that this key opens. And this contains pictures in it, and it seems like it's a bit more interactive as a read. I found this in a charity shop ages ago and I always wanted to give it a read, so it's time. The next one, I don't know how to explain it well, so I'll try. It's The Bone Shard Daughter. This is a fantasy, I think adult fantasy, maybe YA, I'm not 100% sure. However, this is the story of this kingdom where the royal family have powers of moving these constructs made of animal bones, and these magic and these bones have basically created the city and defended it, I believe. I'm not so sure. It's a very complex synopsis to give. And what happens is that the king is dying though, and magic with him, and he refuses to leave the throne to his daughter. So this daughter decides to go on a journey to master this magic that should be in her bloodline, should be a royal thing, and to demonstrate that she is worthy of the throne. We will see. I don't know anything else about these, but the covers look stunning. And it sounds like a very fascinating magic system. Then I've got Crossbones Yard. This is the start of a detective series where actually you follow a psychologist, I believe, helping the Metropolitan Police solving crimes. In this case, a woman has been found on a shore dead. assassinated. And this is my dream job, you know, being a forensic psychologist and helping the police solving crimes. It reminds me also of The Silence of the Lamb and Jodie Foster. So yeah, I love the good thriller, and I've heard amazing things. I've heard it's quite gritty as a thriller. Then a book that I wanted to read for the longest time, Pachinko. This is a historical fiction. It's actually a family saga, so you follow a family for 4 generations throughout 100 years. And initially though, you have this young woman. She is the daughter of this fisherman, and she falls in love with a man who's part of the Yakuza. And when she finds out that she's pregnant though, she also finds out that he has a wife, so she refuses to be with him, and she decides to follow this other man to Japan. And when they are there, because of the years is 1911, Korean in Japan were very much discriminated. So I guess it's about how her and her family lived through discrimination in this new country. And I think they probably put up a parlor or like a pachinko, so they made money with pachinko. Pachinko is like gambling thing. I think it's mostly popular in Asian, the pachinko machines, but I think that's how they make their fortune, and I guess that's why the title. And I got The Witch's Kiss. Now, with all my old YA that I still own and never got around to read, it's always trial and error, and sometimes I DNF them, but I want to still give it a try because I purchased these, although it was ages ago. So this is the story of this teen. She is also a witch. She doesn't want to be a witch, but she ends up falling in love with this guy who might be part of a curse. So she has now to decide if she wants to, you know, destroy her love or herself, basically. Sounds very dramatic, very teen angst stuff, but let's see how it is. And if not, I can always donate it and give it to someone who will love it more. Got Blind. This, I heard, is a very grimdark fantasy, and that's why I originally picked it up years ago. And behind it says, you know, from fans of Joe Abercrombie and George R.R. Martin. So I think this is a story where initially the Dark Lord, you know, this version of Dark Lord won, and then peace had been restored, but it's always been like a bit of iffy peace, where there were a lot of skirmishes, especially between the borders of these two kingdoms. And all of a sudden the king of one of these two kingdoms die, so the Dark Lord is now trying to regain possession of the land. It's not the Dark Lord, I think it's a Dark Lady and High Priestess and blah blah blah, but I don't want to know anything else. I want to go into this Pretty Blind, and yeah, I hope it's gritty. I hope it's like a green dark fantasy. And lastly, I will have to read I'll Meet You There. This is a contemporary romance, and I think you follow this girl, Skylar. She wanted to go to art school, and she doesn't want to end up like living in a trailer all her life, like a lot of women in her small town do. She has dreams, but her mom loses her job, and now her dream is in danger. And then she goes and works in this motel for the summer to try and get some money in. And at the same time, while at the motel, he meets this guy who lost his leg when in Afghanistan, so he had to come back from the army, and I think he's still dealing with the loss and his new disability and so forth. So they meet, they start with friendship, and I guess this will becoming a romance. Now, I don't read romance in general, but there was a reason why I picked this up, and it says like it's a coming of age, part romance, part war story, and it's very touching while making you laugh a lot. So something appealed to me while I purchased this book, because I purchased it actually, it wasn't used, so something at the time piqued my interest, and now it's time to find out if I was wrong or right. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. That's it for my TBR. I will add in my fairy loots for sure. I'll attempt. I've got a lot of leftovers because again, Halloween, October I did a secret TBR, so I messed things up for me, but I'll do my best. But thank you for watching guys. Let me know what you're gonna read in November, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!